Welcome back to day 2, episode 2, to As We Healed, the 21-day water fast venture of my good friend, brother Chris Deb.
Thank you, brother. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it is. It's day 2, episode 2 of the fast, and I'm glad to be here. I'm officially at the Tanglewood Wellness Center. There's this beautiful brother, Michael, who is actually letting me use his back room area so that it's like private and I can be as loud as I want. And I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to start sharing because I'm already getting a ton of knowledge and yeah, and already going through some things myself. So happy to be here.
Sweet. Yeah, I know we're doing daily check-ins. So yeah, I just wanted to know, like, how's it like at the Tanglewood Retreat Center? What's the flow like? How's the introduction and everything? Like, what was the process that they kind of walked you through, and what have you learned thus far? Given that it's your completed day 1, and you've probably talked to some people that are there as well. So I'm just curious. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so basically was brought to my ranchito as I came in. So I decided to have my own room. You could also like have a shared room, but I was just like, no, I just want to be able to go through my process. If there's like a lot of like some deeper stuff there, that could just be in my own area. And yeah, I've really learned the ropes more so from the other people here. I'm going to be having my first like interview and consultation with Lauren Lockman, who runs the center, and he's been basically fasting and been fruitarian for like over 20 years and been guiding thousands of people through these kind of fasts for the last 28 years. So I'll get more information then, but I've already learned a lot about what to expect, what's normal, and yeah, so I don't know which things necessarily to go into at first, but yeah, basically there is every day. So it'll be noon here. I know it's noon Eastern time, but we go through like a lecture, so we know what to expect. Because why I think one of the most important reasons of like why I'm here is because when we're going through a healing crisis, often we will do things, and I'll speak for myself, but I know this is true for many people. We'll do things to impede on the process as the body's starting to eliminate. It's like now toxins and poisons and things like this are trying to cleanse and like move through the body. And our first instinct as like pleasure-seeking beings is like, let's do something to stop this from happening. But it's just like, well, when you get sick, you don't just look to like be okay, well, now I'm just going to do everything I can to like resist this from happening. We know that when we get sick, the body's going through a process. So it's the same thing when we start to fast, the body starts to detox and it's going through a process. So it's important to why I'm sharing here too for others that might just want to just do a 1-day fast, maybe never done that, or like a 2 or 3 or 4-day fast. I feel like if you tune into this channel, you will get the information to be able to do, say, like a 4-day fast very confidently and to get the most out of it too, and as well as integration, because you can do fasting the wrong way as well, very very much so.
Oh yeah, totally. Pretty cool that I didn't know that they had a lecture. All right, I wanted to know, like, as you're now have like unlimited, or not unlimited, but like ample room and like time and like space to just like be with yourself, tune into your own rhythms, your circadian rhythms, to be able to just do like this huge, massive like reset, like holistic reset for your body and your life and your routines. Is there anything new that you're implementing? Is there any like times specifically where you're like, yeah, like, I want to get up at this time, sleep at this time? Are you taking naps throughout the day? Like, is there, is there something that you're kind of sticking to? And like, what does that regimen like look like?
Nice. Yeah, I think some of it's going to develop as I'm here, but basically around 10 o'clock into bed, around 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. wake up. At first, I'm going to give myself kind of like those 9 hours. If I'm just, let's get the rest in, But
Yeah.
definitely want to be flowing. Like I didn't close my blinds, when I went to bed. I'm like, I want to get up with the sun. Let's go, and as soon as I feel tired, honestly, that's one of the habits that I'm like healthy habits that I'm looking to like fully embody moving forward is I don't always go to sleep when I'm like tired at night. If it's like 9:30 and I'm tired, also, I can still get going to do work or things like this. And I've been noticing the pattern more. And what I'm really recognizing is like, you know what, Chris? If you have more work to do or more things to do it in the morning and just get up earlier. Go to bed at 9:30 and get up at 5:30, and like implement that in. So that's what I'm
Mm.
really going to be like listening. As soon as I'm tired, I'm going to get into bed. So that's one. And then I'm going to continue like my sadhana as far as silent meditation goes, even though this whole thing kind of comes more into a meditation, but
Right.
anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes in the morning, as well as I'm just starting with basic breathing practices to just really see where my system is at, because basically you're meant to do as little movement as possible.
Right.
But yeah, so anywhere from like leading up from like an 8-second breath to a 10-second breath to a 12-second, like a 12-second inhale, 12-second exhale, and just slowing things down, relaxing the body.
Mm.
And basically, I'm going to do those practices until I feel vitality. Because already this morning, dude, I was feeling weak and tired. The tiredness started to go away, but the weakness was there. Like I had to stop for like a minute and just like doing some of the things that I'm, doing. And it made me realize like I've done a 4-day water fast a few times, but a lot of the fasting I do, I still give myself like a little bit of juice or something like this, that
Right.
that can make a difference energetic wise. So already starting with just the water, I'm already noticing, and that's what something they've mentioned at the center is basically, and everyone mentioned it here, you are going to feel weak and tired most of the time.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine that. I mean, not having like the any glucose, not having any sugar, not having any fat, not having any salt, like like you're really. I mean, I'm assuming that they don't give you any salts or anything like that. Like I don't know, like if there's any. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, like your body's just like you're basically, it's like you got energy, whatever you can breathe in and like visualize and maybe like taking in. But like other
Mhm.
than that, and like breath, like other than that, it's
Mhm.
like, and grounding, it's like, like it's just everything that you have, your own vitality. So I can
Yeah,
imagine getting pretty tired, pretty fatigued.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. That's part of it, and I feel like also that is happening as the intelligence of your body, because it's like rest, don't do anything, just rest, and that's where we get to that place every time we get sick, and we
yeah,
recognize that's what we got to do, and that's what gets us better. And
yeah,
that's the same thing for this process. It's almost like you're like making yourself get sick so that the body will go through these deeper detox processes. Because when we're always moving and always expending energy, your system's not getting an opportunity to actually get to that next level of like elimination and clearing out of the internal organs. It's just not getting that opportunity because it has other jobs to do, So at first, it will go right to your most important organs, and as well as the digestive system, to start cleaning those things out. Because the most important thing, what I've learned about health, is elimination. If you are
yeah,
not eliminating properly, and your system is not, like, we are made of tubes. Like our whole system is made of tubes. So we need ways to be able to help to remove the blockages in these tubes, and if that's not happening, you it's eventually going to impact us,
yeah.
and it will impact us also mentally negatively, not just physically. And sometimes that's what happens first, is more of the mental stuff, or the
Mm.
mood stuff, or these kind of things. So we have to recognize when these things are starting to happen. It's like, okay, maybe I should take a 1-day fast, and don't expect it to be an amazing experience. You might have some, but
Yeah,
don't expect it to be. Expect it to be challenging, and, and, and as well as the digestive system to start cleaning those things out, because the most important thing, what I've learned about health, is elimination. If you are not eliminating properly, and your system is not, like, we are made of tubes. Like our whole system is made of tubes. So you need ways to be able to help to remove the blockages in these tubes, and if that's not happening, it's the final thing I'll say around this like flow is that I realize that when I feel weak and tired, I don't feel as confident, and I don't want to feel weak and tired. So I want to do something so I don't feel weak and tired anymore. And that's okay with some of these, talking about like the breathwork practices or particular energy cultivation practices. But when we start to look and go to that caffeine right away, or that bit of food right away, it's okay to be doing that sometimes. But I can only be honest with myself. I do that more than I know on the overall of what's healthy for me.
Right. It's like not eating for sustenance. It's like eating for with like there's something else behind what's driving like the eating or the consumption of something. And it's actually you touched on something that I can't help but like overstep, and it's kind of reminds me a lot of like the practices that you've been doing for years and years and years and following like Muji, and like even like people like Alan Watts talk about this as well. And it's like here we have like this opportunity, or rather here you are, this huge opportunity to just be and do nothing. And it's like sometimes it's like the hardest thing to do is just to be and just to like do nothing. And it's like inside of that, it's like you're finding all of these things and all these mechanisms as you're doing nothing and just being and drinking water, that are like, oh, like I don't want to do nothing. I don't want to feel this, I want to do something about this. Like I can't.
Yeah. It's like, I'm doing nothing now. And then it's like, okay, well now I got to do something. So what's the something I'm going to do as I'm doing nothing,
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Well, maybe I'll wait to see if you have another question, but I feel like this is like opening up again into some more of like the deeper internal energetic processes and like mental stuff that I want to bring into awareness. I feel like it's very important to bring these things as well as the subconscious into awareness, which I feel is one of the things that's most beneficial that happens as we do nothing.
I think
besides all the physical detox, of course.
I think honestly it'd be great to just flow into it. Like I think it's right there.
Okay. So it's like there's certain energies that we have shame around, that we've been running from for some of us, most of us, until we bring consciousness to it, our entire life.
Yeah.
So think about it like this. Suddenly you start to have consciousness around some like deeper ingrained energy of, to say, like not being enough. And so you got to think, you've created, or let's say, I'll speak about myself, I've created a mechanism to move away from that. To every time that comes up, move away from it, move away from it, move away from it. So you will first go through. That's where distraction comes in. That's a part of meditation. That's just going to happen. It's a distraction. You're aware of it. And then you'll start to enter into these like deeper areas where now there can be like a revolt. The mind can start to get like quite intense and these kind of things. But if we just continue to just bring awareness to where that energy is, and you might start to notice negative thinking coming up about yourself or different things like this. But if you just keep bringing the awareness there, that energy can start to move, And often, I'll speak for myself when experiencing things like bullying or different things like this. It's like, I let other people's negative projection that were put onto me, I let those become something as a part of my identity.
That's actually kind of perfect in what you're sharing. Like, it's like so, dude, it's so parallel. Like, I was literally doing meditation this morning. I was in a meditation this morning, and it was only 10 minutes of like sacred silence. And honestly, it felt like friggin' timer went off. I'm like, this is like not enough. And I was literally contemplating with this and like looking at attachments and looking like at all of these different things. And I'm like, well, what is attachments? And like, where does the attachment attach to? And I'm like, and it's like the identity, the things that we relate to ourselves, the things that we think are us, that, hold all of these different things, these perceptions of other people, the things that we think about ourselves. And so it's interesting when you brought that up. It's like, yeah, it's super bang on.
Yeah, and what happens is that eventually we have to consciously address the energy at its like most peak climax of what we were just like, oh, you know, it's just like, oh, like it's just like not nice energies. But to get there, and that's what the kind of like the process of the meditation is, we're developing more and more neutrality. So as we meet that place, we might think like, oh my God, I don't want to go there. But the fact is when you actually get there, you're in a place where you can be with it, you know, and you're in a place where then you can dissect and be like, you know what, like I let been talking about this thing where, you know, someone projected their negativity on me like several times, you know, throughout bullying, and it made me feel less than, and you know, like insignificant and like a piece of shit, you know, like you know, things that people could say that are just so fucking rude and like and mean when somebody is still like developing, you know. And
Yeah.
as we allow ourselves to get in that place, we're also bringing some more of our reason and our logic. We can see, wow, this doesn't, you know, this isn't the truth. You know, and it's challenging because although we might want to not want to totally admit it, we do believe, and we have believed that these things are true. You know, and we probably, I can say for like the bigger areas where I was a bullied or like really, you know, tough things, I didn't talk about it with my friends. I didn't talk about it with my parents. So it was just held in there, and I just like kind of like learned to cope and move forward. But they had quite an impact, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry that you didn't really have anyone to talk to in that time. And one thing that I was like kind of seeing is like all of this awareness and all of these, you know, as we're pointing to all of these different aspects of this, as you're going through this process and being able to, you know, tie it to like bringing it all back to just beingness and awareness, being more still, more conscious of the breath, more conscious of the thoughts and the things that arise, and seeing like the attachments and like the little like hooks that they kind of like have in us, and just being able to be with all of this, you know, throughout this whole process on a very holistic, this is like very mental, very psychological, very spiritual, you know, where do you see this tying in as like now you're starting to feel all of the different things from like the physical starting to be shed, starting to feel like a little bit less energy, like how does this kind of tie back in to the fast
Yeah. So
as a detox, like, you know what I mean, like
it's a slowing down. It's a slowing down, you know, like there things need to be slowed down enough and sometimes lose enough energy so that we're not focusing on the things that we're worrying about or that next thing in the future, which are good things, you know, they're going to be wrong to focus on. But like there needs to be a level of like really like observing the mind enough to be like, okay, you know, now there's just me and I'm just aware, you know. And when there's more and more of that spaciousness and more of that emptiness, that when things start to come up, and the goal really is to just not try to, like, it's just to let it. It's just to let it. It's just to let it. Because once the mind starts like going and it becomes more seamless of like the talk that's happening, you can start to detect patterns easier. Because I noticed that I developed some mechanisms that when there's like a negative like thing coming up, it's like, okay, just like squash it, you know. And like that's cool, and that can be supportive sometimes. But when we have deeper space for meditation, I'm actually saying it's, don't even try to squash it, don't even try to interrupt it. It's like, just let it go, because that is actually going to help you to see the fallacy. Once it's seen as false, it's not going to come up. It's not going to come up that way, in the same way. These things only perpetuate due to our belief in them.
I'm kind of curious, and like I'm very like actually like very quite curious about like the different thoughts that will be coming up and that you'll be experiencing, and like the deeper layers as you go and get deeper and deeper into the fast. Because like what I know about the body is that, you know, your different organs house predominantly different emotions. So like the liver, you know, anger and resentment, the kidneys, like worry, stress, you know, the stomach, like nausea or anxiety or whatever the case may be. So I'm like super curious as to, you know, as things start to shift inside of you physically, if there's going to be like a direct correlation to like your past and different things that you've dealt with and the different emotions and fallacies and stories or thoughts or perceptions that have been projected onto you, and that you've also taken and had these attachments to in relation to yourself and the things that you identify with as you clear these out. So
very nice. Well, that's good. That makes me feel like I should definitely have that like anatomy up, because I feel like I know it for some areas, but I don't have it memorized as much. And I see Fraser Rishi just mentioned, great question. And I now have the comment area up so I can see. He says, I've definitely done fasting, not the right way in the past. I'm happy to get this insight and info. And Rishi's very in tune with Qigong. He's actually going to be coming on, not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday on this chat. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I think that's a great question, because there's so much information and knowledge you can gain from that. Because then if you're noticing, whoa, I'm experiencing this emotion, I'm experiencing this symptom, well, then you can start to more get specific in your cleansing and detox protocols, you know? And the beauty thing is, like, this is a big detox one for me, but moving forward, it's like, I'm only going to detox when I'm feeling like either I feel like quite energetic or vital, but still noticing some symptoms, or there's something really clearly that's like here. And it's like, okay, this has got to get addressed ASAP. So I'm going to like set into it. But I think a lot of people start to get to this point where they're down, including myself. Put me in this boat to do more deeper cleansing and detox work because you're sick and you feel shitty, you know?
Yeah.
So you know, this book, which I totally recommend to anyone, the Miracle of Fasting. This is by Patricia Bragg, but it's by you know, Paul Bragg and Patricia Bragg, who brought the apple cider vinegar and the whole line of health products. But you know, the book shares throughout like fasting, and I've read this in a lot of other books and from a lot of other experts, but like fasting is probably the number one health thing that you can do for yourself. And even if that's just one fast a month, one day a month, to get into that habit, it can literally change your life. The body needs a break. The body needs that time to heal. It's spiritual, it's mental. You start to get aware of like what's going on. You'll actually also be able to take better inventory. You'll start to remember things that you're forgetting, and improves memory. But even during it, you'll be like, oh, I see that I was going full speed ahead with this thing, but now I see that I've like lagged behind and forgot about my particular relationship, or didn't do my taxes. Well, whatever it is. So just giving yourself that space for the fast is going to just allow so much more awareness to come in. And that's why we have to have these conversations, because especially in these podcasts leading out, I mean, in the future, we're going to hear a lot more about like detox symptoms. But even another one, for example, just to give another like tip, they want you basically taking a sip every minute pretty much, or 500 milliliters every hour. And the reason why you don't chug is because it can actually start to flush out electrolytes. And when you're fasting, that is not a thing you want to be doing. You don't want to be sweating too much. So like, you'll see me in these, I'm drinking, maybe not every minute, but I'm drinking.
Probably need to be drinking. You need like a revolving timer.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing I've already learned from being here, that it's not necessarily always positive that when you pee, it's clear. Now, I think most people have kind of like learned that, and it is good. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But actually, when the piss is yellow, it also is it's an elimination channel. So sometimes different things are being eliminated, and you can tell by smell or different things like this. And that chugging water too quickly can actually have the opposite effect. You can actually become dehydrated from drinking too much, because it just kind of like goes right through. If you drink smaller amounts, I'm going to learn more about this in the lecture, but already some people have been talking about it. There's like sponges in our system that start to like soak up that water, and then and that's what hydrates you. So if you drink it too quickly, again, it can eliminate electrolytes, and you actually won't get the time to get like as fully hydrated.
I'm kind of curious too, like as I'm here, like sipping on some warm water. Are you guys only having room temp water, or like only room temp? So no warm water or anything like that. Because I know warm water like absorbs a lot more and stuff like that. So I was just curious about that.
I'm going to learn a few things from Lauren, just because he's been doing it for so long. Like he hurt his hand the other day and decided to fast for 4 days, and even let like his hand swell up to be like inflamed and everything, because he's like, well, this is a natural process of the body. At times we'll like try to like stop this from happening. So he's probably more extreme than most. He's like a genius on certain levels, but also people with these kind of like extreme and like, you know, some of these ways can be also quite rigid in some areas as well. And I don't know him well enough to make that assessment, but you know, there's certain things that I've heard, and also just, you know, this is something that happens when you are, you know, really smart in particular ways, and certain things have really worked for you, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work for everybody. And I wouldn't recommend anyone to just jump into a 21-day water fast, you know, because the physical detox is important, but also the mental preparation, like we mentioned in the last episode, is like incredibly important. I think it's the most important aspect of the whole thing. Just talking with someone earlier, and like people here can still get into like that victim mentality, you know, and you know, because like you're also detoxing your hurt, like your deeper wounds, and these things are coming up. So if you start playing the same stories, like that's not going to help things. To a degree, you need to see that that's happening. But again, if you don't have that meditative practice and you're not in that witnessing, to me, it's like the stance you want to take is like, I want to gain more knowledge about how I am speaking to myself, how I am interpreting reality, how I am perceiving reality, how I perceive the things that have occurred in my life. You know, all of these things you want to have knowledge and awareness around. So there needs to be enough witnessing and observing to just like look, you know, without just, oh, well, now I feel this way, and then starting to create judgments and stories around that. Like we need to just be able to see, and then we can start to be our own parent. Then we can start to like be like, okay, but you know, is that how things really are? And then we can inquire in more, you know?
Yeah, totally. Is there anything that's like really on your chest there, like right now, to like share, like anything deeper, anything at all, like anything that you just would like to share? Just like to really give you that space right now to just tune in, you know, feel.
Well, emotionally, I feel pretty balanced right now. I'm grateful because I'm making some good connections here, and you know, open and friendly. I feel like that was like one of the first things that starts to come up. Okay, I'm here for 28 days, and it's like, you know, to have a level of established connection and you know, with the guests, and just to feel comfortable in the space is a really important thing. And already just taking the time, like as I sat in my room, you know, the first day I was like feeling nervous and different fears are coming up, but just as I was like with it for like 30-45 minutes, it's just like, you know, it just reminded me like how important it is that whenever you come into a new space to give yourself the space to settle in. You know, that's something that I've learned over the years, but it's something I wasn't as good with. And, you know, I wanted to just like get right into the action right away. And it's just nice to just, you know, not have to be anything for anybody. So, you know, that's great. And yeah, the biggest challenge continually moving forward is just to be and rest and to do little, you know.
Yeah, just to rest, to be more still, more aware. And it's interesting, you know, this kind of brings us back. It's like, is that really how we heal?
Well, yeah, isn't it just a breath of fresh air to be like, you know what, everything's all right, and like I don't think anyone inherently is like bad, you know. Like I don't think anyone is just inherently like just all bad, and I think it's just so important to see ourselves in a good light, and sometimes that just takes some space, you know. Right, we hold tension in our bodies, you know, like we hold things back, we hold certain even negative emotions about ourselves and like deeper hurt and wounds, like we can hold it in because, you know, we might not feel like we'll love ourselves or be loved by others if we let these things out, you know. Why in the first place were we mistreated by others? You know, why do we mistreat other people sometimes? You know, why, like, where's the origin like of these things, you know? So I feel like it's just an incredible opportunity to give ourselves the space to just be, and also for it to be okay that that's can be really hard sometimes, you know. And that, so I think sometimes we don't even give ourselves that space because they can just use that time to beat ourselves up even more about, you know, be like, oh well, now I can't meditate or I can't do this or that. And it's like it's not about that, you know. It's the fact that the vast majority of human beings, more than 50% of their thinking is negative, you know. So
Yeah.
I understand why you wouldn't want to, you know, get to that deeper level of meditation, because to me the deepest level of meditation is just to let whatever is to be as it is, and as there's that unconditional love there, it begins to dissolve, you know. And it will come back again at times. So what I'm realizing is sometimes I'm like putting up some kind of like guard that like when I am feeling good, it's like, but then there's kind of like this like impending, it's like, okay, well now is there going to be like another wave of like,
Shit.
to come over me at times? And so I'm definitely working energetically with that, you know, because I don't want to feel like I have to protect myself against myself or the world. But in certain ways, there is some things that, you know, there is a level of protection and like honoring what's sacred. So working with those energies.
Beauty. Well, I'm looking forward to tuning back in. Is there feel like maybe is there a quote or anything you'd love to like leave us with, and then
Yeah, so this one's on breath, and we'll just close with a few breaths together. There's two here. Life is in the breath. He who half breathes, half lives. And your breathing habits are the first place one should look when fatigue, disease, or other evidence of disordered energy presents itself. So this is Dr. Sheldon Hendler, the author of The Oxygen Breakthrough. So often when there's a lot happening in the mind, we're not as aware of the breath. The breath is such a key to vitality, to bringing in more awareness. It gets things moving. It supports with elimination. There's more of it in the blood, and you know, even just talking about it, I feel it more. So maybe we can just do 3 long, slow, deep breaths together. But before we even get into these longer, deeper breaths, just first simply observing your breath for the next 3 inhales and exhales. And letting the body relax. On your next exhale, blowing out the air at the end of the exhale, just holding the breath out for just a few moments. Relax the belly. And then soften the belly as you inhale in, let the belly expand, rib cage open up, chest and heart. On the exhale, notice the chest descend, rib cage contract in, belly button drawing in towards the spine, body becoming more supple. Inhaling in nice and deep. Letting it out long and slow. And one more for good measure, breathing deep down from your gut, deep down into your loins. Slowly opening the eyes. I want to thank you all for tuning in, sending you so much love. Many blessings to you, your family, your close ones. Many blessings to you, my brother Elliott. Thank you for being here and just being here with me on this journey, because if I didn't have these kind of supports, I know it would be harder. So thank you.
You're very, very welcome. And with that closing breath and that closing quote, I just want to leave you all with one thing. And it's one of probably the most challenging yet easy kind of type things to do. And it's be aware of your breath as much as you can. They say 30 seconds in to like a minute in and out is like the optimal like breathing rate is a minute in, and like it's like almost a 2-minute breath, and it's so hard to do. So be aware of your breath as you move forward today.
Aho, and just sending some love here to Jordan and Fraser Rishi. Thank y'all for tuning in and commenting. We'll be back Wednesday at noon. That Wednesday will be, which is second, third, fourth. It will be day 5 of the fast for me. And we'll be happy if you want to put any questions into the comment area of this video. We'll make sure to get to them on Wednesday.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in, and see you then.
Yeah.